Okay, so welcome to our second video for the COMP3218 Games Design course at Southampton. So my name's Dave Millard and I teach on the course.
I'm Ricky Prince, I also teach on the course.
I'm Rachel Day, I'm a PhD student.
And I'm Tom Blount, I'm another PhD student.
So Ricky, do you want to just very quickly say what the brief was for
Of course,
for this?
yeah. The brief of this coursework was to create a game that emphasised one particular core dynamic and then built a tutorial level or levels that sort of taught the player how to play the game.
Brilliant. Okay, so our first game, I think, is Ninja versus Mummies. Is that right?
I hope so. Nice intro. Right, let's start.
So,
Oh wow.
Lots of
wow.
text.
yeah,
Let's have some more text.
That is a lot of text.
So, ask and you shall receive.
Okay, so the Spring Island is controlled by 6 evil mummy kings with a zombie legion. We're a hero. Before starting, we must train ninjutsu.
No, ninjutsu.
Ninjutsu, no, you're right. From the ninja master.
So press enter to continue.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah, that's
yeah.
hidden at
That
the
should
top.
be at the end.
Here you go. Here's some more text.
Oh,
Please
there's
follow
more
the
text.
instructions. That's
Press
the one.
A to
A
move.
to move to the left, D to right, space to jump. The fact that it's over the graphics is particularly unpleasant.
It's not a very satisfying jump. There's quite a delay in
I
there.
like
Look,
the noise.
it's a good noise, but look, press.
It's not,
Just
it's
minutes
not so much
later.
ninja as jelly. It is a jelly jump. Alright, J to melee attack, K to throw kunai.
Press enter to continue again.
Oh, what?
Ah,
Oh,
Lesson 2, advanced movement. Have we done basic
I don't know how to do basic movement.
Oh, you just did basic movement.
You can
went left
attack
and
when
right.
you're jumping, space plus J or space plus K. Okay. Right, and keep pressing W to glide when you're falling or landing to the ground. Show us a glide, Ricky.
How?
Jump
Shift.
and then keep pressing W to glide when you're falling or landing to the ground.
Oh.
It's
Ah,
got a little parachute.
that's fun.
Okay, and slide.
And left shift to slide when you are moving. Sliding can help you avoid harmful obstacles. Yeah,
Professional face. Professional face.
very
okay.
nice use of sound effects.
So
Right,
I'm going to go easy.
Was that the tutorial?
that was the tutorial, and first things first, don't put all of your instructions just in a big block of text or 3 big blocks of text. So,
Yeah.
like, I like the fact that they had like a little sandbox with all of the mechanics in it
Yeah.
that you could try out,
But-
but they never explained half of the mechanics in there, even with those 3 blocks of text. So, did you notice the little arrow float? There's one at the top of the screen right now.
Yeah.
Did you notice that little arrow? Do you know
No.
what that does?
No
When
clue.
when you get up to there, you'll find out.
Yeah. So I mean again, so basically the thing here is use the level to teach the mechanics.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what they've
And
done.
in fact, Ricky didn't bother with any of the level, right? So
Oh, I thought I died.
Died sort of again. So in fact, with that little sandbox, yes, it was there, but you never experienced any of the sandbox. You just stayed in the bottom left-hand corner, read all the text, and then
Oh,
so
that was
effectively
annoying.
that tutorial level isn't a tutorial level. This is the tutorial
Yeah.
level.
Yeah,
So
it
You've
doesn't
learned the
make you have to
controls,
do
and
anything.
now you're playing the game.
So
right?
that is what that arrow does. That arrow indicates that there is wind there, and it will push you in that direction.
Ah, right.
But that's never mentioned anywhere.
Localized wind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same with those sort of other platforms over there that don't
Yeah.
have grass on them. What they do is they will drop after a certain amount of time standing on them.
Right.
But again,
So-
that's not explained anywhere other than.
So again, doing it with level design would force you to land on one of those platforms, where you would learn that it has that behaviour because that's what happens.
But instead, what they sort of do
Oh,
is
dear.
they
Yeah.
just put,
Oh no.
put all of the mechanics in there right away and give no indication what
Yeah.
half of them do.
Yeah.
It's a shame actually, because actually the rest of it,
What
it
am
looks
I
like it's
doing?
quite a nice
Where's
little
the arrow
platform.
keys?
So J and K for attack, space to jump.
Okay. I
So
wish
you-
jump was
So
W.
the actual design isn't terrible. I just
Uh-huh.
feel
The
it's
W
badly
works for jump.
introduced.
No, I said
Yeah,
I wish it was
yeah.
W.
Yeah, agreed.
So
Oh,
the
okay,
fine.
sorry.
Oh,
Oh no!
no!
Space didn't work.
so
What is it? J and K.
Yeah.
Go.
Just K. I don't think there's any ammo.
Die.
So just,
So, and I think part of the reason for that is what
Can
do
you
you
get
think the
that
core
out?
dynamic of this game is?
annoyance.
No, I can't.
very, very.
I don't know actually.
I really want that.
What is it?
You're not collecting anything. You are destroying things, but that's not really the point. You are exploring, but again, not really.
Oh no.
Doesn't seem emphasised. It's not like you're unveiling things. I suppose because of the level design, there is a certain amount of spatial reasoning, but not really.
And that's the thing. It's sort of there's so many of these different elements to it. So when I spoke to them in like the expo, they said it was destruction, which I'm in two minds as to whether it is.
Well, there is destruction here.
There is destruction there, but it's not.
What am I trying to do? Am I trying to get to the end?
Is to get to the top of the screen.
Onto that
I
jump.
can't.
Oh,
I can. I
jump
just
there?
can't get onto the next one.
Yeah.
And again, that's not really.
Can you jump through the
either.
platform?
So there are these arrows saying left and
Didn't
right,
even
which are
press that
sort
spot.
of showing your path there, but they're not really showing to go up.
So why are you struggling here? Is it the controls that are not?
The controls, is the controls really, and a bit of the level design. Like some of the jumps are a bit badly placed, a bit too high. I think they intend you to go this way.
No, there was an arrow over there though.
There is an arrow over there, but that jump's really hard.
Yeah.
So again, it's this sort of idea of choice in games. So it's something we covered in the level and saying if you're going to give your player the choice between two paths, indicate to them why that choice matters.
Yes.
So irritating.
So here you can go either up there or up there, but
Jumping and moving is really difficult.
so having one direction where you've got more enemies and another direction where the navigation level is harder or something, but there are fewer enemies, that might be a meaningful choice.
That might even be what they've done, but
Maybe.
I can't tell just from the sort of like the way they've laid it out.
Yeah.
So the actual end of the level, when you get to the top, you actually do get a sort of like a little climactic boss fight, which I feel is where the sort of the destruction mechanic comes into it a bit more.
So is that the boss there? Oh no, that's just
No. We've got quite a way to go yet.
I'm not sure that we'll ever get there.
Oh, I'm back here.
So are you supposed to? So presumably you're supposed to go up that ladder of platforms.
But equally, once like if you sort of land on them and don't make that jump for whatever reason, then you're stuck.
Yeah.
So
you're trying to make your
the
way
idea is
back.
you are constantly going upwards.
So this is easy mode, where it's just sort of standard platformer, and you sort of go. If you had selected hard mode, the camera would constantly pan up.
Oh really?
So I tell you,
let's
go
try it.
to the main menu and
No,
try it.
no, that's a terrible idea.
There's a slightly mixed messages with the whole.
Oh no! Don't make me do this again.
So you just have to press enter lots of
Yeah,
times.
you don't actually have to do
phew,
anything.
okay.
I hit hard.
That's not quite what it means by.
Oh my goodness, that is.
And that's it. So again, this is nice, but this doesn't tie into a destruction mechanic, right?
No.
This is
now
survival.
No, it's survival. Yeah. And you've still got the problem of if you need a basic path up
And that's the thing. I feel like this is actually kind of really interesting.
Yes.
But it's throwing so many new mechanics and so much difficulty right at the start.
Yeah.
Like that tutorial text is not
So
sufficient to make sure.
So the real issue here is it's just such mixed messages. Is it procedurally generating the levels as well?
I think
They're changing every time you play them.
Oh, that explains why some of them are impossible.
Yeah.
So
and again, this type of game, I'm not sure that's a particularly good idea.
We'll get the same level.
So I think some of the structures they've put in might be sort of repeating.
Oh yeah, that was the same.
There's always an enemy over
it
here.
looks to me like there's a couple of different level designs. Maybe it picks one at random actually. This looks like the one we started with that kind of big ladder of things up there.
And
so it's not clear to me, for example, if you can land on that bit of grass next to the spikes that you just landed on.
What, without getting hurt? I don't.
So you need to jump up there, like a ladder.
I think a lot.
Hang on, why did that one fall? You landed on a different.
Yeah, some of them fell randomly. The one in the tutorial fell while he was just.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go through the things then. So in terms of quality, fulfilling the brief, controlling bugs, mechanics, it looks like there's some stickiness around the mechanics, which is a bit
The
difficult.
controls are quite difficult.
But
They're not
It
very
needed a lot
precise.
more tuning to make a
And,
nice platformer out of this.
But the game's there. There doesn't appear to be any huge bugs.
So that's the ending.
So it works.
The ending isn't terrible. There's actually like a nice little sort of boss fight where you fight like Tutankhamun and his like minions, which is actually kind of a nice touch. But
Yeah.
Bye, enemy!
That's kind of fun.
So these little wind things are the most annoying thing in the world. And if the controls were like even half decent, it would still be annoying.
Yeah, it's
just
really
have
hard
to
to get up there.
I even meant to do that? The platform's in the way.
So can you not jump through? You can't jump through platforms. Is that right?
Some of them you can, some of them you can't.
So you can't jump through the solid ones, but you can.
I just don't know.
Fair enough. The sound effect sounds a lot like you, Ricky.
Yeah.
All right, dynamics. So I think the dynamics is where they've got a real problem, isn't it? Because there's so many
it's
different
really
elements,
unclear.
and it's not that any of them are. None of them are emphasised enough. None of them form the core of the gameplay. It doesn't look like you're collecting anything. It doesn't. You're not really destroying things. There's, if with that scrolly thing, you could easily make this into a survival dynamic.
So if they picked one of the dynamics that they've got going and really, really emphasise that. So I think if they'd just if they'd taken the easy hard mode thing and just said that's the game. It's just there is no easy or hard. It's just the camera will always scroll up. Then like you say, instantly you've got these other dynamics going on, but clearly then survival is the really important one.
And the goal is very clear as well, which is to go up.
Yeah, I had no idea that this was a constantly going upwards.
Okay, that's kind of exciting.
Can I jump on wind? No, just in a hidden platform.
Yeah, you've got a really bad case of wind now.
I'm not playing anymore. That's it.
So we've talked a bit about level design already, but I think the tutorial, the beginning, those big blocks of text, the fact you don't have to meaningfully interact with that initial tutorial level, I think that's a real problem.
Yeah.
I mean, the first big block of text is kind of like flavour text, so I would just skip through all of it if it was me.
Yeah. Like I said, it isn't really a tutorial level. It is a bunch of stuff you read, and then this first level becomes a tutorial level because this is where you put it into practice.
But it's really not a very good tutorial level at that. Like it really doesn't lead you through the mechanics one by one.
I actually think that this is one of those games which is actually better than it looks, because it's so irritating, right? Because it clearly
That's not a good mechanic, Dave.
No, but you could make it less irritating quite easily.
Yeah.
And then once you've done that, actually you've got the basics of quite a good
Well,
plan.
that's it. Like this would be this would be a good last level, right? This is sort of where you're putting all of the things you've learned in the game up to this point into this really infuriating thing that you're going to keep dying on, but you sort of keep persevering.
But it wouldn't.
I've not been introduced
because you've had time to practice those mechanics, and you
so,
just haven't with this.
So I think maybe a case of less is more, simpler levels to start off with, and a bit more fine tuning on the controls, and they probably
definitely.
Remember, if you took that approach, you also wouldn't have to implement like the 10 different mechanics they've got in this that are doing very different things. Like all of those things. Didn't need. You just needed the base of those.
So were you using the glide mechanic at all? Did you ever glide
so the other thing, the slide. If you slide, you avoid damage. I think you maybe could have used that to get on like some of the spikes and stuff. But it's just because it doesn't.
I never once died from lack of health. I only ever died from falling. Was health even a worthy mechanic in this game? Like, given that the thing seems the target is to spatially reason your way upwards. Like, why is health even a mechanic in this? How is health supporting that?
Too much going on. Keep it simpler. Focus in on a few core things and be really clear about what your game's about. And again, they've got the building blocks here or something, but they just haven't. There's too much happening, and not enough focus. All right, should we move on?
Okay, brilliant.
Okay, so our next game is Freightyard. So who had Freightyard?
That was mine. So this is a sort of spatial reasoning puzzle that's sort of set thematically on sort of like train tracks.
Oh, okay.
So you
have
to get your little cube to sort of the delivery place.
So what you're pressing the
pressing D.
Try pressing that red button
with your mouse.
I never. It's only ever introduced me to the.
Oh, okay.
It only ever introduces you to one of the controls.
Oh, so that's like a little junction thing going on.
Yep.
By pressing, I think they meant click. Like, I think the verb for that is.
Try get the order. Got the order wrong and try pressing space.
Presumably that's to restart.
Okay. So you have to.
I'm gonna keep quiet for a moment and see.
Oh, I see. So you need to go and pick up the. You need to pick up the white square first.
Oh, I see. There's a pink one there.
Yeah.
Right, that wasn't obvious.
So So if you look at the top right of the screen as well, you can also see the pattern you're supposed to be getting there.
I did see that, but it's not clear that that's what you meant to do.
Again, that's the thing. It doesn't introduce that
really
as a
cute idea, actually. As a mechanic, a really nice little puzzle mechanic.
Okay. What do you guys think of the forcing the player to get it wrong, or like assuming the player's going to get it wrong, and then
that's the thing, right? Here they sort of assume that you're not going to understand what to do and get it wrong. Why not just tell them how to do it? Say they need to be in the right order. Make sure they're in the right order.
But like, you might in playing this game get it in the wrong order. So I think it's quite neat to let the player make that mistake because it's likely they will.
And deliberately set up. Yeah, I think it's quite nice. You deliberately show them something, and again, it's all about showing rather than telling, isn't it? So
it's also because you then associate the action of like, how do I fix this, with having done it wrong, as opposed to just being told it. So like it.
So the only thing so I really like the mechanic, and I think they're kind of leading you through it quite nicely. Those kind of points, if you want to call them those, I find those a bit strange for some reason.
Yeah, the keyboard and mouse control is a bit
strange. And mouse control is a bit odd, and
they could have just numbered them or something.
And I don't know whether it's me, but I know red is sort of
what have I done
normally
wrong?
no entry.
I don't know.
But
I think that might just be the end of it. I'm not sure.
Is that all the levels?
Okay. It feels to me they're the wrong way round. It feels to me like the indicator should be where it actually goes, not where it doesn't go.
Like it should be greyed out rather than highlighted.
Yeah.
So originally they actually had it where they just sort of removed that section of track, but they said when they were testing it, they found that the fact that it would sort of pop in and out would confuse people, so they tried to highlight it sort of like red, no entry.
What the hell happened? The green one just appeared from nowhere.
So again, I think that's just a mechanic they don't introduce very well, in that they will spawn in new cars or cubes, and then you have to try and make that combination.
Oh wow.
So there is like a spawn point, and if that spawn is empty, it will spawn a new cube. And again, I think that is an interesting mechanic. I don't know why there's a green one. Like I assume, like it'd be nice to see not only just sort of in the top right what you have to get, but almost as like if in the top left there was a sort of what's coming next, so you can sort of plan where you need to be.
Yeah. Also, it's not quite clear to me now. It's got several of those junction on. Which of those junction buttons affects which junction? Those two in the middle.
Yeah.
Kind of. I'm getting really confused as to what the path is through.
Yeah.
So I think the information design here, the kind of that feedback to the player is not great. Even though I really like the mechanic, I think it's a really fun little idea.
Let going of them is really difficult too. Well, now I can't switch that because
there's a cube in the way.
So again, there's nothing to tell you that though. There should be a.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh Dave, I've pushed it off there.
You've derailed your cubes.
Oh no!
I'm presuming that is a.
That is a bug.
That is
definitely a bug.
There are a couple of bugs in development of this where occasionally
like
cubes will just
at
fly
your
off
face.
into the sky.
It's a shame. I think it's a really, really nice little idea. And they've kind of.
I like it. I think it's a really nice sort of like the idea behind the sort of mechanics and the puzzles is nice.
Yeah.
I feel like some of the concepts could have been introduced better. Like, so for example, the only control that ever tells you specifically what button you need to press is how to go right and nothing else.
Yeah. I also think that
I don't know.
The choosing the direction of the points.
No, space was disconnected.
So choosing the direction of the points is like it's so fundamental. They had to get that really right. And if I look at that now, I cannot tell.
Yeah, that's true.
What
bad information design.
Yeah. I mean, you can tell, you can work it out, but it's not natural.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it feels like this puzzle requires you to store 3 of them along a track, but there's nowhere to do that.
Yeah, it's like
So I think you'd store them in sort of.
And like these are lost to all hope now. How do I restart? There's no restart, which is a shame for a puzzle game.
You might just have to quit and restart it.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that just because I want to solve that puzzle. You guys analyse.
That's fine.
We'll talk
based on the things as well.
Let's talk about the various bits then. So quality, what do we think about the quality?
Overall, it's quite nice, apart from the few bugs.
There are a couple of bugs, but the quality as a whole is nice.
Yeah. The aesthetic is nice as well. That kind of
I like they've specifically chosen a font that looks like rail lines.
Yeah,
that's a nice touch. It sort of leads towards making it sort of feel like it's minimal, but it's nice.
Yeah. I think it kind of is quite well done actually, and the mechanics clearly work. I mean, it all fits together. All right then. What about the core dynamic then? So
core dynamic. It's definitely spatial.
It's definitely spatial reasoning, and there is no real confusion there. So I think they've chosen something. They clearly know what they're doing, and they've executed it pretty well actually. Mm-hmm. And the mechanics do support it really well, and you definitely get meaningful play.
So again, there's this little bug here where it looks a bit.
Yeah. So like those have to be in a certain configuration.
So if there are the problems we've spotted so far are bugs, information design.
Yeah.
Kind of just knowing what's going on, knowing what's coming in, those kind of things. So the level design then, how do we feel that the tutorial sections work?
I feel it's okay. I feel it tries to introduce the mechanics sort of one at a time, and the way it sort of gates them and sort of ensures that you know how to do this and you know how to do that, and sort of leads you through it. The intention behind it is good, but I feel like I don't know, it feels like they've slipped up in sort of, they've not taught the player everything they really need to know. They've sort of taught them half of it and sort of are trying to let them figure it out.
So a few more steps would probably be a good idea to kind of teach them the basic mechanics. I think I actually really like the idea that they set you up in a way that you will get yourself into a tangle and then you'll figure out how to untangle yourself. I think that's a really effective way of teaching the player what to do. So that works really well. And the levels themselves, they seem to be well thought through. They clearly are little puzzle levels where you have to figure things out. And
so the one thing I didn't mention, the puzzles are actually randomly generated as well.
Oh really?
Well, this one is.
Yeah, so the tutorial levels aren't, but when you get sort of past that, they start actually randomly generating combinations of cubes that you need to get.
Right. And then you have to figure out how to do that.
And that's it. I'm assured they're all possible to do, but I don't know how they've managed to do that.
I was going to say that's a
when they keep generating random ones like that, then it stops making it.
That
mechanic is never explained. And
so in fact,
I think that's the thing I think it's lacking.
So I would say that actually that detracts this whole idea of the spatial reasoner. That the whole thing that makes those spatial reasoning things work well is you understand how the system works, and you can have random elements in there, but if you like, you have to understand the property of the randomness.
Yeah.
And I think part of the problem here is it feels a bit too random. It's kind of like at least there's a single spawn point. Right?
So one of the things they said while I was talking to them in the expo was the reason they've gone for this sort of like minimalist sort of level design. They want to be able to see the whole space as you're reasoning over it.
Yeah.
And that thing you've just said right there, you can't see the whole space. There's these hidden cubes that pop in. They're like an unknown.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So other than that, I think it's actually very successful as a game. And it's just got a few little problems to do with those bugs and again to the way it presents information, but a really nice idea.
It is, yeah.
I think he's cracked it.
I don't know, Tom. I'm just waiting for that random one to spawn.
Can we afford to wait for Ricky to solve the puzzle?
No. Yeah, we're almost there.
Right, here we go.
Done it, Dave. I've done it. Thing is, will it detect it?
Yeah. We know you've done it, Ricky. That's the main thing.
Well, I have. But these just have to be in like the predefined order that the developers decided.
Right.
Going on my train. What's happened there?
Oh wow.
Oh guys.
Another little bug.
I think the way they've done tracking on the lines and the way trains are connected together has like a little bit of a bug in it.
So
which is a shame. But
bugs, it's a shame, but I still kind of like it.
So that's like if Ricky is going to make us sit here and wait while he finishes that puzzle, again, that's probably a good sign.
Yeah.
Okay,
all right, we should move on. But yeah. Fun little idea. Okay, so our next game is Planet Deathmatch, which I saw in the expo, but it sounds like you're familiar with it from some of the labs and things.
I've not seen this before. So tutorial, I guess, or controls. Oh, that's a bit hard to read.
That text is horrible to read.
That is difficult.
Switch.
So
Move,
escape menu,
jump,
reload,
switch
weapons, move, and jump.
Escape.
Can you still not switch weapons on the
I was going to
controller?
say, how do I switch weapons on the controller?
When we played it, you couldn't.
You're not allowed to, Tom.
Oh,
You're not allowed
okay, fine.
Yeah, I think it says.
Tutorial.
Ooh, voice acting.
Yeah, it has awesome voice acting.
I'm just about to say, well done for doing voice acting, or having someone read this out. Walls of text on the screen is really difficult to engage with, so having someone...
So what's nice about the tutorial as well is that it is essentially railroading you. The landscape forces you down a particular path.
It's all very cluttered, like it.
That sort of tutorial canyon.
It's hard to jump over trees. Fortunately, you have a jump pad.
So we can leap over the trees. I quite like the idea of being on a sphere, actually.
Whoa, hold on. There's an evil chess piece in the way. Left mouse button.
Was a chess piece a stock Unity asset?
Yeah.
Is that what?
Left mouse button. There we go.
Look, a shotgun. It fires multiple pellets. Go pick it up.
Let's pick up the shotgun.
You have multiple weapons. Use the Q and E buttons to switch between them.
Okay. So the controls they're mentioning there are different to the ones on the control screen. I think they just haven't updated that.
Look,
Oh, right.
No, that's what it told me.
splash damage. Go
On the
pick it
control
up.
scheme.
For the controller, I mean.
Oh, for the controller. Yeah. So launcher. Oh, and that knocks them back as well.
There's quite a lot of edges to get caught on, which is unfortunate. Am I meant to jump? No.
We're surrounded by robots. Attack!
Like the tone of genuine panic in his voice there.
It's good voice acting.
Yeah.
Almost as good as some of your voice acting last year, Rachel.
Yeah, my voice acting was great. That was 1 a.m. voice acting.
Oh no, Gretel.
Look, a pistol.
I thought you were
Oh,
And why is the pistol dealing incendiary damage?
that is a bit strange.
We're free. You did it. Either continue shooting robots or open the menu of escape and start fighting other players.
Should we do that?
Yeah.
Should we go
Alright, let's
first?
give it a go.
Oh. What exactly was I going to press there? Restart or?
Right, here we go. Two players, I guess. So split screen action. So which one? Tom, are you at the top?
The sensitivity. Am I? No, I think I'm at the bottom.
You're the boss.
Yeah, you're the bottom.
The sensitivity on this is really low.
So when I played this, I kind of I really liked aesthetically. I really liked the fact that you're on this sphere, and that kind of looks fun, and it kind of gives you a very short horizon, which kind of adds to the suspense of the game, and that works really well. I do wish they'd done a bit more with it though. It is essentially just an FPS that happens on a sphere.
Yeah.
So this is one of the things I think I mentioned to them while we were developing it. It's very difficult to orient yourself on this. Like, they've got a lot of interestingly different sort of scenery, but I don't know where any of it is.
No.
And I don't know where Ricky is.
So again, maybe
Are we
he's
fighting
in
each
coloured.
other?
Yeah.
Maybe he's in coloured areas.
Oh, well, now I can't see anything.
Why does
You
the
have
pistol
died.
do flamethrower ammo?
No, it's
Are you?
something else.
I see. Are you a robot, Tom?
I think so.
Yeah.
Have we got health?
Yes, I think. That's the 32 you've got there. I think it's like regenerates.
Yeah, it looks that way.
Can't aim.
So
Take it, Tom.
So
So
my
there's a-
controls feel very slow. I don't know if that's just like this particular controller setup on that we've got on the Mac, but it doesn't feel like as fast paced and frantic as I need to be. Like, look how fast I'm walking.
When I played it on the control, it was okay, but that was like during development.
Is that weird buzzing noise the fire?
Yeah, I think that's you taking damage. It's a little audio cue that you're taking
And
damage.
because you're sort of taking incendiary damage, it goes a bit nuts.
Yeah.
It's not so clear what those numbers are. I'm guessing left is health.
Yeah.
No.
Or
2 kill. Is there a goal? Is there a time limit? Or?
I don't know. Actually, that's a good point.
I'm not sure what when it stops.
How do we get more ammo?
So
Can I shoot this tree?
Presumably you pick stuff up, do you?
Why though?
Oh, there we go.
Have you been using many of the weapons, Tom?
I've
basically
only
just been using
the
shotgun.
pistol. So
You've been using the pistol. Is that any good?
well, yeah, it does intensive
Fire
damage for no adequately explained reason. The weapon select doesn't feel that good on the controller. I don't know if that's just a sort of a facet of the controller, but it feels a bit sticky to change weapons. I don't seem to be able to cycle through them that easily.
It's quite easy to sort of lose the other person as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because
that's what Tom was talking about.
Because they're very similar to the landscape as well. So even if you spot them, you might not actually notice them.
I mean, it's in space, so it's a bit dark, but
and you can't tell which way they're facing.
I hit myself there.
Also,
so
the reticule is a single pixel.
Yeah.
Just like all of the stuff.
Yeah. I was just about to say that.
So I like the fact you can tell what weapon the other person has.
I can't tell what weapon I've got other than sort of guessing from the ammo count.
Okay, so in terms of
quite like
quality,
hiding over the horizon.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things I think is really nice about it, is because it's on a sphere, the horizon's really short.
Oh, there we go.
So what they've done, and I don't know whether they did this intentionally. I can't tell the noise.
I'm going back to the pistol.
Right. So what they've done, which I think is really nice, is they've created an open world sort of shooter, if you like,
but still in a very small space.
But with a short horizon, because you can't see people from miles away, and that's really quite nice actually, and it gives it a particularly intense feel. That means that the other person could come at you from any kind of direction.
Yeah.
So I mean that actually is really effective. I've got no idea if that's what their intention is, whether they just thought it would look cool to be on a sphere, or but that works really well. So, what do we think about the quality?
Fantastic. Yeah, quality's really, really good. I was going to say let's talk about the other things because it feels like everything we've spoken about has been sort of quality things. But
so okay.
Yeah, like beautiful design. Just the. Tom mentioned a couple of control things. It does feel a
the controller's a
tiny bit sluggish.
Yeah.
Same with movement on the keyboard, and like you sort of get stuck in some places.
Yeah.
And it's hard to see the things against the star field.
Yes.
But other than that, really, really tidy. Like the art's lovely, and just
very well
conceived. The game's really well
put together. Yeah, very, very, very executed well. All the pieces work. Okay, what about the dynamics then?
So dynamics, destruction, but and you've got a lot of tools to sort of enact that destruction, which is nice. They all do different things. So and it works very well. I mean, it does in a multiplayer game. You really don't have to do very much to make the make the destruction dynamic work, because you're just trying to kill the other person. So as long as your controls feel like you are in control, they're successful.
You can get stuck on the corners quite easily.
The corners of the sphere.
Yeah, and the corners of stuff.
And you've definitely got meaningful play, because you are meaningful playing, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure there's much choice with the weapons. Like that might just be a balance issue. Like it feels like.
Also, it's interesting when you meet each other, you do generally just stand there and blast each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not a lot of tactics.
And I don't know why that is. Whether it just means that perhaps there isn't much in the landscape that you can use, or.
So it's like speaking
found you.
Speaking of like the level design, it was one of the things I was saying. Like,
where did you go?
There's a lot of different things in there. I can't tell if it feels a bit too cluttered.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of different scenery.
Oh.
Yeah.
But also, it feels like it'd be a struggle to actually find something on the map. So like when we first started playing, it was actually a little while before we sort of came into contact with each other, and then sort of after that.
So one of the things I said, I wondered whether it would be nice to have several of these spheres you can move between, or whether or not there should be the landscape should be different with different kind of qualities to it.
It feels
make it feel like the tactics would be different in different spaces, because it feels kind of like. Crikey.
You're hitting yourself in the face with the axe.
I'm pretty sure that's what I did.
It feels a little bit aimless. It feels like you're sort of dropped into this space, and there's like I said, the tactics. What are the tactics?
I don't
walk around
destroy
until you
them a
find
bit.
somebody. If you're lucky, they're facing the other direction, and then you'll probably win.
I think it would
If
be
you're
fun with more players if there was a clear
maybe.
keeping track of
But
score.
then is it too random? Because people could just come up behind you and blast you, and that does happen obviously in FPSs. But then there's tactics you can take to make sure that doesn't happen. Yeah. And I'm not sure whether that's true here.
Yeah, the scenery doesn't really allow for.
So I think that in terms of the level design, maybe there's more they could have done with cover or the use of the scenery. Yeah. And the tutorial element at the beginning.
So that was kind of nice. I like the way they sort of guided you through it using the scenery.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like obvious that this is just the corridor you go down.
And they set it up so they had the things to shoot. They kind of went through that process.
Also the voice acting, right? So we've talked about how using just a bunch of text is a bad idea, but as soon as you start voicing that, then you're not putting the pressure on the player to sit there and read it. You're giving them the information.
Well, also it's the difference between telling them a load of stuff and then giving them an instruction that they then execute. Yeah. And that linking up the action with the instruction makes a massive difference, doesn't it?
Yeah. Tom's right though. By voicing it, it allows the player to do something whilst they're voicing. As soon as it's just text they've got to read, you switch off all other agency. You are focused on reading those words, particularly when it's over the front of the level, and then there's nothing else you can do. So, important part of it.
So I think very very polished. There you are. Yeah, very polished, kind of interesting setup.
Yeah, you really can't change weapons very easily. So I guess I'll just axe you.
No.
Okay. Really polished. Destruction is mostly there, but feels like maybe a different couple of mechanics to support it. Would have made it a little bit like an objective or something like that.
And again, maybe just making it a bit simpler and kind of they've got the jumping and the jump pads and the multiple weapons.
Yeah. Well, the jump pads don't do it. I don't see the point of jumping. So you could take that out.
Again, in the tutorial, it was jump over these trees, but you don't really need to jump. I think you can actually land on top of the trees, so maybe that is a tactic. Maybe you can sit up there.
But if there were platforms or buildings or something where you could leap on top of them, then that would make a bit more sense.
If jumping was a meaningful avoidance technique, or
like I said, if you had maybe two different worlds, and what it was is you jump between them on the pads.
Yeah, you had to occasionally look up and shoot.
And then you had those kind of choke points. And again, using the level design to create choke points where people will bump into other people. Those are the things they could have done to kind of. It feels a bit aimless.
Even if it was just like you say, it needs some sort of objective. I know it's keeping track of the amount of kills you've got. So if it was just first to 10 kills, maybe that's what it is. Maybe we haven't played for long enough, but there's no indication.
You've got to tell the player, otherwise it's not an objective.
Okay, we should probably move on. But yeah, good game. I think real good basis and very well polished. Okay, so our next game is Gravity Switch. So
I looked at this one in the Let's Play. It's kind of a spatial reasoning puzzle game type thing, based around putting blocks onto pads.
Yeah. It's another one where they've interpreted have a tutorial as put lots of text on the screen telling people what to do, isn't it?
Yeah. Though what is quite nice is they've got the eat carry bit at the bottom, that's the important.
Yeah. Although I have to say I missed that because I was so busy reading the text.
And the thing is,
I can't see the text because of that silly background.
Yeah, so you actually have to face away from the important thing in the level so you can read the text.
Yeah, that's probably
you have to actually literally look at just either the wall or a floor before you can read it.
I see, we'll drop it on there.
What's the 1 and the 0 mean?
So it's how many pads you still have to put blocks onto.
It did tell us.
So here's interesting. So we were so again, I think there's some interesting examples of ways you could have solved that.
Where'd it go?
I'm thinking of we were talking about Inside earlier on, and Inside has a similar mechanic where there's a pad where you have to put a certain number of things on the pad, but it starts off with the thing on the pad, and you naturally move it to try and do something with it, and at which point the number drops. So So again, it uses the environment to teach you what's going on. And actually, if you do that successfully, if you do that well, the level design, you don't need the text to tell you.
Yeah.
I don't think they needed the text, to be honest.
I think just having press E to carry something and letting the player experiment almost would have been
There
better
wasn't really
than-
anything they could do in that first like the level design for that first level was quite good, but they didn't need that wall of text.
Like, I'm not
Can
sure.
you fall down those pits?
Can I? Yeah.
Yes, you can.
I'm not sure
Almost did.
when
I think there's a checkpoint in each level kind of thing though.
when is jumping and when is running going to be useful in this game?
Does it tell you how to jump and run?
Yeah, the whole of that first section was this is how you run, this is how you jump.
See, I literally didn't read any of it.
No, I didn't read it either.
So
Oh, okay, sorry, I read all of it, guys.
I think
Well done you. You are the exception.
So,
So one of those isn't quite like undone.
yeah.
is that right? Oh.
Okay, so
So,
it doesn't
falling
actually
off doesn't
restart.
actually
So is it
restart
that-
it.
I think that middle one doesn't look
Yeah,
quite like
probably.
Ah, yeah.
Oh,
Weird.
So that's a shame.
that's a
Yeah.
bad clipping.
Ah, so here's your jumping.
So this is the whole gravity switch element of
Press G to switch gravity.
yeah.
I see. So, not jumping. Like what?
No. Switching. It's kind of interesting. Again, I wonder whether it'd been more effective if they'd have whirled the camera around.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Because at the moment it doesn't feel like gravity switch, does it? It feels like sticking to the ceiling.
Yeah.
Sticky switch.
I mean, it does affect the gravity of everything else in the world, so those cubes will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's quite nice.
That was clever.
I like the music as well, actually. That's like a nice thing that's.
Yeah. In terms of the sort of aesthetic, isn't it? And it kind of goes with that kind of misty distance thing they've got going on off the platforms, isn't it?
It's kind of interesting there. So
Oh,
when
that's
you were
annoying.
sort of like walking along the ceiling a moment ago, you could see sort of the next part of the level in the distance.
Yes.
Why won't it let me gravity switch? How do you gravity switch? It's G.
G.
isn't it?
Is it a bit buggy?
Here, well.
They were saying if
Ah,
You press
I
R by
restarted.
mistake.
very close to E.
So that's a problem. Okay. So while you're leaping to your doom, let's go through the bits. So in terms of quality, bugs, controls, the mechanics, presentation, what do we think?
So I think mostly the presentation is nice. It's sort of like quite minimal, but I don't think you
Yeah.
need much more than that.
There's lots of
No.
examples of these kind of floating puzzle games in the sky type aesthetics, and actually the reason for that is it works quite well. It focuses you in on the important things. It doesn't distract you. The music kind of builds to that as well. The mechanics are quite cute. I like the gravity switching mechanic. So I do wonder whether actually switching gravity might have been slightly more interesting, and actually changing the camera and everything as well. But maybe they tried that and it was just too much or too confusing.
So the other thing is, like, they've actually tutorialed that mechanic quite nicely, because here's a big gap that
That's
you can't
right.
jump over. So you have to sort of
Yes.
just go up, walk along, and then back down again, and that's it. You've learned that
And
mechanic.
then
It's
the little
really
puzzle at the end
difficult
for
to
us
see
to
what
use it
they
to
want to do.
activate the thing. Yeah.
Which almost makes it more disappointing that they have
Yeah.
that big block of text at the start,
Yeah,
right?
you're
Because
right.
they've shown that they can sort of demonstrate the
Right.
mechanics through play.
So what about a core dynamic?
Oh, that better be on
I
there.
think it's fairly
Yep.
straightforward. It's
Spacey
spatial
reasoning.
And they've really gone for it, right? So spatial reasoning, both in terms of the platforms, but also that gravity aspect, makes a lot of sense. So as far as I can tell, all of the mechanics kind of support that,
Oh,
with
running and
maybe the
jumping. Running and
exception,
jumping. Why have
maybe
they
the
added them?
exception of jumping.
yeah, you don't need to jump. But I think this level they were saying there's actually 2 ways to solve it.
Like, it does look there that maybe you can pile the cubes on top of each other and jump on
Yeah,
them, but
So that there's kind of a gap in the ceiling.
in which
you're meant
case,
to
don't
help
teach me
use.
jumping right at the start. Like,
Yes.
teach it to me now.
But then apparently this level you can also you can kind of, once you've opened the door, repeatedly press G to kind of float,
Okay.
which I think was unintended.
Yeah.
Seems like a bit of a...
So maybe that's the problem with having the gravity flipping the thing as a power rather than a switch or something.
Yeah.
It's almost like you almost want to sort of set the level up and then go and flip a switch. Gravity goes, and then it gets you around some of those unintended consequences aspects.
Yeah,
I
feel
there's,
like
there's other ways around it. Like you can keep it as a power, but just put a delay on it so you can't hover through the mid-air.
Yes, yeah. That's true.
So what the puzzle here is how to get out, not how to open it, which all the other puzzles have been. All the other puzzles have been, can you figure out how to?
Yeah.
They've not quite been puzzles in the other ones, but can you figure out how to?
So have you tried the gravity trick here?
Well, not yet. I'm gonna try and. Oh. Well, I don't understand.
So, like I was saying, I think this is actually where jumping might come into it, because you've got like.
You reckon I can jump through there?
I reckon you've got small cubes for the buttons and big cubes to like make a sort of stairway out of.
Yeah, basically.
But you might find that you have to make the stairway
How
on the ceiling.
How do I sack them?
So there's a gap in the ceiling that you're meant to push one of them into.
It's really difficult to see. I don't know if this is just the WebGL not capturing the full screen.
I think this level probably introduces a bit too much too quickly, because they've got the different size cubes, which you might not notice straight away, and they've got the gap in the ceiling.
So that's a big cube in front of you, right? Those three are big cubes.
Yeah, those three are big, and the one you've got is small.
Yeah. So what about the level design then? So
pretty nice. I think it's mostly good. So it does sort of try and introduce the concepts relatively slowly and sort of build you up. I don't think it's necessarily too bad that they've put in a couple more in this one to sort of try it out, but I'm not sure how immediately obvious it would be to solve this given the mechanics you've seen so far.
I think again it feels like there's just too much. It's like keep it simple, have a more straightforward set of mechanics, at least introduce them gradually, do more of the show rather than the telling, and trust in the player to actually learn how the game works just through simply demonstrating it.
Yeah, if you look
and then I think it would have worked really well, wouldn't it? I mean, it kind of you've got the
so.
potential to have a really nice series of puzzles and add new mechanics as you go more gradually.
Yeah. So if you look at a different puzzle game, say like Portal is like almost 100% tutorial. Like it's always sort of here's a new level, here's a new mechanic, add this to your repertoire, and that seems to be sort of what they're going for here. But
but just perhaps too much too soon. Okay, shall we move on?
Yeah.
Okay, so our last game for this session is called Leave No Platform Alive, which is kind of like a tutorial and a title, isn't it?
Yeah. So we saw that a little bit last year, where people used some of the naming of the game to be able to tell you what to do.
You're going the same colour as you.
Yeah, I saw this in the expo. It's quite nice. It's a nice little platform puzzler.
And again, it's telling you stuff, but in a very straightforward way, and showing you straight away as well.
I think it introduces little enough each turn that is quite obvious. Like the fact that you're red and you only had red platforms last time, and now it's very different. And also, you can see you shouldn't jump on those green ones because they're spikes, right? And you're like, well, I'll try jumping over that. And then you're almost forced to jump through this. Like you can avoid that green thing.
So it didn't tell you what the green thing was, but it kind of you didn't have much choice other than to.
From what I can tell, that was intentional. They were intentionally trying to get you to do that.
Are the controls difficult?
No, I'm just bad at it.
It felt the jumping and the jumping and the moving's a little bit floaty.
The moving is quite sensitive, so
sensitive,
you go a bit further than you intend to.
It's nice. It's a nice mechanic. So there's a recent iOS game called Chameleon which uses a very similar thing, but there, rather than there being kind of hotspots which change colour, you can toggle your colour at will.
Okay.
So it's a platformer where you can only jump on platforms of the same colour as you.
The only thing I don't think is that intuitive about this is jumping off of the final platform to finish.
Yeah.
It feels like either there should be a goal platform or it should explicitly say.
I think it's okay.
Yeah, it's alright.
Like you don't not do it. Like no one's ever going to sit there and get to the last platform and go, Oh, well, I don't know what to do. Like, do I just stop?
So
I'll just sit here and wait for something to happen.
It's quite helpful that first level is on the title screen because it says leave no platform alive, and you're stood on that last platform, and you're like,
okay.
Yeah. And even that, so this is a nice example as well. So doors open once you've collected all the keys. So you have to, so you presumably have to leap over that first.
Yeah,
one.
that's the plan.
So one thing I really like about this game is it's not a case of you've got 3 lives and then you're dead. It just keeps a track of the number of times you died, and if you die, you go straight back to the beginning. It's very quick. It's very sort of. It's one of these sort of like Super Meat Boy type games, right? We expect you to fail a lot, so we're not going to punish you for it.
And you just start again immediately. Just rapidly start back.
Start again immediately is important for these sorts of games.
I mean, I have to say, I think I really like this.
I really like it.
It's cracking.
The tuning of the difficulty is quite good. Like the pacing, it gets progressively harder, but not too much.
And really satisfying little puzzles. And it's doing what so many of the other games we talked about haven't done, which is that it introduces things very, very gradually.
Yeah.
So we've gone through quite a few levels of jumping, changing colour, and now we've got the keys introduced. So you kind of that whole idea of meaningfully solving the problem really works. You're planning.
The other thing that's nice about it is that the puzzles still increase in complexity. It's not a case of here's a new mechanic, so here's a really simple level, walk to the end and use the mechanic. Yeah. It's still using all of the things you've previously learned, but with a new thing in it.
And I like the idea that the score is actually the number of deaths.
Yeah.
And that's kind of nice. And again, the aesthetic is really lovely.
Go left.
Yeah, just the simple use of colours. So this level they're obviously introducing grey platforms. And sound effects again, really simple sound effects, but used very nicely just to give you little cues that something's happened.
It's a really nice balance of learning through text and then learning through playing.
Yeah.
That's the thing, right? It's still probably, if you condensed all of these tutorial levels into one screen, it'd be the same amount of text as some of the other ones, but because it's spread out, it gives the player sort of time to absorb it, to absorb each one in turn, and then try it out.
And then make sure.
And it's the try it out. It's you're trying each one, so you are doing it, and you get real satisfaction out of solving the puzzles. Right? You can definitely strike platforms in either colour.
I feel like those little circles could do with being a little bit bigger.
Yeah, it is possible to miss them.
I keep forgetting that those bouncy ones.
But again, it's another that example. This is obviously designed to be played over and over and over and over again, and each time you play it, you learn something very slightly new about the way the level works.
Yeah.
And so it becomes about learning the pattern that you need to do in order to win the level, and then correctly executing that.
And there we go. Right now we get to put all of those mechanics together.
Oh. And they get genuinely challenging.
I think it's kind of nice, a nice sort of combination of, it's not just like sort of like reaction skill and platforming. You actually have to.
I knew I had to do that as well. So the thing is, I'm not sure the puzzles, as in like what order should I do things, are really the challenging thing here. It feels like the precision platforming is really what's difficult.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's just because the platforming's a little bit.
But it's also about. But also the part of it is the memorization, because actually you're having to memorize quite a complex sequence of things in order to answer some of these.
You reckon?
They've put a lot of thought into this level design.
That's what I mean. I don't like. I can see the solution to the level pretty immediately.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
It's actually just like, can I execute the?
Yeah. But then that's the whole point, isn't it? It's you have to come up with the plan and execute the plan.
But what I mean is
the plan isn't just spatial; it's also logical. So the fact that the logic isn't that complicated isn't necessarily a problem. I don't think you can do that.
Yeah, I don't think you can.
Am I doing this in the wrong order?
I think you have to leave one of those platforms alone.
Oh, I know. Not what I meant to do.
So the only thing I would say, I'm not playing it here, but it looks like the controls are a bit fiddly. Maybe.
Yeah.
I think the running is too sensitive.
That's what I mean. It feels like the challenge here is in the.
I also love the way.
It's in the difficulty of the platforming because it's.
But I also love the way that you've been saying that, and actually you.
I know how to solve the puzzle, Dave. I know how to solve the puzzle.
And it says not as easy as it looks. It's the name of the level. I think that's.
I know
that's
how
lovely.
to solve the puzzle. It's not as easy as it looks because the platforming's just a little bit hard to jump on.
So we should go through this. So quality. I mean, other than perhaps some sensitivity in the controls, I think this is.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, apart from the slight issue with the controls, I think it's really nice.
Really
it's really, really polished. It's nice.
And the mechanics are well thought through. It's and yeah, it really works, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Dynamics. So core dynamic presumably again is spatial reasoning again.
So that's it. I'm not convinced it is just spatial reasoning, like Ricky was saying.
This is what I mean.
A lot of the main dynamic seems to be sort of actually like the precision platforming and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But which dynamic does that feed into? That's
but
what I mean.
It kind of works though. It kind of.
Now
they
tricky.
fit together. Key Hunter. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
I wonder if it matters which way around I go. Oh, I forgot to jump.
And the level design. I think the level design of this is is excellent. It's one of the best examples of tutorials I think we've seen so far.
Yeah, it's all introduced really nicely, and then it's all sort of tied together as well. I like the way it's not just a case of one mechanic, then the next mechanic, then the last mechanic.
And it's one of those examples of the game where the tutorial blends into the game.
Yeah.
So in effect, you are sort of, are you still playing the tutorial or not? And that's nice in that it would enable them to introduce new mechanics and new dynamics later, and it would feel very natural. And actually, these levels are very well thought through as well. Okay.
Oh, I know. Figured out. Yeah, so spatial reasoning are puzzle games because you have to think about the way. Oh, I've done this wrong. The way you do things, isn't it? I'm not sure. Is platforming like the skill of platforming?
It still kind of is
spatial reasoning. I think it's something else, isn't it?
It's about formulating a plan and then executing that plan, isn't it? And there is skill in executing the plan.
Yeah, but that's a different type of game. I done it. Oh no! That's really annoying. Don't do that to me.
Alright, I'm afraid we're going to have to draw it up.
Is this the last one, Dave?
Complete the level.
Let me finish the level.
This is going to be a long video.
Yeah. Oh, not as long as that last one, Dave. Oh, that's really frustrating. Oh, so's that. The thing is, how many levels are there? Because I'm just going to do this on the next one.
So, that key question of playability,
yeah,
I think it seems to have seems to have succeeded pretty well with that.
I thought you were going to miss that then.
I so thought you were going to fall off.
I'm not going to click to continue because we'll be here all day.
That's brilliant.
Yeah,
so that's our last game in this batch. So really good to and a nice game to finish on. I think. Really good.
Absolutely.
All right, and we'll be back in another video.